the altercation that you heard, or the exchange that you just heard, was between the health minister and another member of staff, another doctor at the facility, not the medical director. There wasn't an altercation with the medical director. It was with another doctor at the facility. Now, there was a response from the Ghana Medical Association. Let's hear what they had to say.
These things they are demanding, of course, is to help their work, to serve the people better, like we are saying, and the fact that they are demanding now for things to help them work. Fortunately, this is not salary, this is nothing. This is to help serve the people better.
In effect,
and we believe they should be supported to do this.
Is apology negotiable?
No, it's not.
So
and
that's one of the...
We think our minister is reasonable. We think a minister can place a call and call this young gentleman even to Accra and turn this quote unquote bad situation around. And
we want a public apology.
We definitely want that. Would be the best, because what incident happened in public.
All right, so the Ghana Medical Association there are calling for an apology to be rendered to the doctor who had that altercation with the health minister. They believe that the way he was chastised by the health minister, asked to keep quiet, deserves an apology. And they are calling for that. They are also calling for, now the medical staff at the hospital are also calling for some facilities to be provided before they go back to work. So they are actually no longer working until those facilities are provided. All right, this is what we're going to talk about. Andre Egyapa Mercer is here. We are still waiting for Eduji Tamaklu to join us. Okay, so in the meantime, we'll start the conversation with you, Mr. Mercer.
Let me say good morning to our cherished listeners and those who are watching us on social media platforms. I mean, I found the whole situation extremely bizarre. And I was wondering whether it was populism gone bad. Because for the minister to go, yes, certainly is entitled to make random stops at the facilities under his ministry. But to go there in the full glare of the media and to engage in this altercation with employees of the Ghana Health Service was surprising to me. Certainly, if you go attacking people for an incident that has happened at their facility, natural inclination would be for them to put up a defense. And for you to shut him down, that keep quiet. And I had my good friend and brother Al-Hassan Suini, the MP for the area, also making suggestions to the effect that the medical officer should be obedient to the minister and not respond. In the full glare of the public, media men telecasting this thing all over the place. I don't know what is coming over my friends in government. My only advice to them would be that they should let cool heads prevail. You know, we are not in campaign mode. They are in government. Certainly, if the resources that have been placed at the disposal of the hospitals were enough, I'm not so sure whether they would look on for equipment to break down and not fix. And it's not only Tamale Teaching Hospital. Across the country, I mean, last year or two, you recall my own constituency and the regional hospital that is sitting there, Fiankwanta, there was an issue with some hybrophilators or something like that, if my recollection is
defibrillators.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it became a big issue. And the truth of the matter is that we as a government or we as a people don't allocate sufficient enough resources for maintaining facilities in the public service. And it's not only the hospitals. Okay, yeah, it's unfortunate that somebody had died because of an absence of a ventilator. It's unacceptable, I agree. But to react to it in a manner that the minister did, I don't think was appropriate at all. And so it begs the question, why has the medical director been sacked summarily without any due process having taken place? Initially, I was under the impression that it was a question of showing him where power lies. Okay, primarily because the sense was that the altercation included him as well. Yes, I saw the tape. The neurologist, I'm told, also had some issue with the minister. He was the one that they asked to shut up. But of course, we haven't got the benefit of the entire tape to see whether indeed and in fact the medical director also had an issue with the minister on his rounds. Hence, the summary dismissal that does not accord with due process at all. And I don't think that that is the way to go. The fact that you are in government, you are a minister of state, doesn't give you the right to terminate people's appointment on the spur of the moment. You come into Accra, and I heard some clip of him and Evans Mensah, where he's saying that he has terminated the appointment of the chief executive. What power does he have to do that? Okay. Subsequently, I've read that the president has terminated the appointment of the medical officer and appointed someone in his stead who happens to be their parliamentary candidate for Karaga constituency in the 2024 general election. So are we politicizing everything, including chief executives of public institutions such as health facilities?
But I think we already
I guess that. Well, you see, there are roles that are political in nature. I'm not so sure chief executive of hospitals are included. I'm not so sure.
What about PROs of state institutions? I mean, we've been doing this.
You see,
haven't we?
Yes, there was one instance that I recall during President Akufo-Addo's era. NGC communications director was appointed, okay, to replace somebody who I believe himself was politically appointed, okay, Alfred Obami. Okay, so I don't know, but I'm saying that if it was wrong assuming, and there's cause to believe that maybe it was an overreach, should it continue? At what point do we say no, enough is enough, and so we need to, terminate that kind of actions that really does not augur well for building our public institutions? That's just my thought. But I mean, the altercation that took place was very unfortunate. It was uncalled for, and so the call by the Ghana Medical Association and the Medical Personnel Association of the Tamale Teaching Hospital seemed to be in the right direction, calling for a public apology by the minister, using the same platforms that he used to, as it were, degenerate the official of the hospital and to do the needful.
Now, some information to help with clarity. We are told that the letter dismissing the medical, not from the health minister.
Yeah, but that's what he himself said.
Yes.
On Evans' show, that he had dismissed the medical director.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe after those statements he was prompted that, well, you can't do it, so you better seek appropriate authorization or get the office of the president to do that.
Well, that's supposition.
After the fact. Yeah.
That's supposition. What we do know is that the letter came from the presidency and there was an immediate replacement. You even point to the fact that it then suggests politicization of this role. Could it be that the dismissal of the medical director is actually unrelated to the visit of the health minister, bearing in mind that we don't see an altercation between
those are questions
the
that I
medical
believe
director
that
and the health minister?
The minister responsible for health is properly clothed to provide answers to. This whole situation leaves much more questions than answers, and I believe that you guys owe a duty to the people of Ghana to probe further, so that we can all have clarity on some of these matters.
Let's talk about the call for the apology. And I was asking earlier whether this is a suggestion that a medical officer cannot be reprimanded. Is that what it means?
I'm not so sure
that
that's
is
what
what we saw on the video. We saw the health minister reprimanding this man, telling him to keep quiet.
Well, is the
Are we
manner
saying that
with which
that is
with
wrong?
which the reprimand came is what I deduced to be the reason why they are asking for the public apology, because clearly it was unfounded.
Was it?
Why,
Do we know that it was unfounded?
why not?
Well, let's
So if
let's
you
recap
ask,
what
if
we
you
know.
yeah, sure.
So we know that the health minister's visit was engendered by the death of a patient. He went there to find out why, what happened. In that discussion, the patient's family was there. We heard this individual who was having the altercation, I think he's a neurologist, he said. We heard him say, the matter has been blown out of proportion. Would you not say that that's the kind of thing that should not be said in front of the family members of the dead patient? So if he's asked to keep quiet, would that be inappropriate?
So blown out of proportion in what context is important? Okay. Look, we cannot sit here and berate any dead. Every family who loses a member would be saddened by the demise of that person, and my commiserations to the family. Okay. But if, based on the facts that are available to the emergency health officer, which was not available to the minister at the time that he was going there, and so a certain reaction that was not based on the fact is put out, he, knowing the fact, is entitled to say that, well, this thing has been blown out of proportion. And my expectation would have been for them to give him an opportunity to explain why he thinks that the issue has been blown out of proportion. But to shut him down, come on, man. Gojo. That certainly cannot be right. And indeed, it's not only the Ghana Medical Association that has called for the public apology. I've seen some Emergency Health Workers Association. They have also called for an apology. And then the medical officer, the Doctors Association at the Tamale Teaching Hospital have also called for some apology. So it tells you that they are all unanimous in their call that the minister's actions were not proper.
So the way forward, and by the way, I must mention we're still waiting for Eduji, but while we wait, the way forward. I mean, one thing is clear: we do have a problem in our health sector. Tamale Teaching Hospital is not the only one that is suffering a great lack of facilities. It's been going on for quite some time. Some of these issues arise because of poor maintenance. Some of them arise simply because of a lack of funding to even buy the facilities to begin with and then maintain them. What's the way forward? The health minister seems to have taken the approach of spot checks to see how things are being run in these hospitals. Would you support that? More of that?
But spot checks are not new. It's not as if it's some novel intervention that the health minister is introducing. We've seen ministers of state visit facilities unannounced across all sectors. So really, there's nothing magical about what he's doing. I think that the real focus should be, and you've seen the plethora of demands that have been put out by the Tamale Medical Doctors Association, that look, if you're going to come here and shut down at us, then basics that are required to enable us deliver would be expected to be provided before we come to work. Otherwise, we're not coming. They've actually proceeded to go on suspension. They've suspended their services. Okay.
Now, is that not being unfair?
To
the people suffer.
Yeah. So that's why we should not allow the people to be used as pawns in this.
Yeah, but you don't say because of the action of the health minister.
Hold on.
The people who need health care can't have access to it.
I agree. That's why I said right from the very beginning that as far as I'm concerned, this is populism gone bad. And the originator of the populist action should be the one who bears the consequences. Okay? If he hadn't gone there to go and shout down at people, I'm not sure we'll be where we are.
So you don't support the suspension?
I will support any call for the medical officers to reconsider their decision and to provide services to people of the area who need it. Okay? But it's important that the minister does what is right, apologize, and find ways of resolving these matters that will not lead to the kind of demands that these officials are demanding.
So you don't support the strike action by the doctors?
Of course, it's the people who attend to the hospital have no role in the decision that the minister took. And so I would support a call for them to reconsider that position and open outpatient services for the people who need their services, because it shouldn't be the case that people should, lose their lives, touch wood, by reason of this demand that they are making of the minister. Albeit the fact that I think is legitimate.
Okay, so well, at this point, way forward.
Way forward starts with the minister. He has to engage and ensure that the people at least return to work, okay, so that he will use the administrative processes that are within his purview to ensure that the issues are resolved. Problems with our hospitals have been there for years. Okay, unfortunately, we make it look as if we have all the resources available and can solve all the problems. And so if some government is unable to deal with all the problems, then we use it to play our usual political chaskili. I'm just coming out of government. I won't play that kind of game, because I know the reality. Okay, you need to expand medical infrastructure. You need to provide replacement equipment for existing hospitals. It's not mutually exclusive. But look at the condemnation that they condemn Akufo-Addo for building additional infrastructure that became obvious we need during the global pandemic.
Isn't the condemnation for him not building the facilities he promised to build?
Oh, is that the case?
Agenda 111.
Yeah, of course, they are ongoing. Many of them are over 70%. Some have been commissioned. Okay, and Kojo, like I was saying, the resource constraints are real. You sit in cabinet and Minister of Finance gives an economy brief and he gives you the position, and you see that, and there's several competing issues that you need to deal with at the same time, and so some may delay, but ultimately, and look, you can go through successive governments, you will see the projects that government started didn't complete for the same reasons that their successor governments have had to deal with. Indeed, and in fact, in some cases, an entire regime could not even complete some of them until another regime comes back and come and deal with all these things. I'm saying that our problems are real. Yes, we'll try to resolve them as much as we can. Let's take the politicking out and deal with the issues as they are. Carry our people along, and I'm sure that in the fullness of time we'll be able to solve many of these problems as we go along.
And Egyapa Mercer there. And our Political Thursday conversation continues for some reason without Eduji Tamaklo, who we are still waiting for. And I'm deliberately mentioning this over and over so you understand this was really supposed to be a conversation between the two major political parties. So we're going to continue our conversation. We've been joined by the managing director of the Precious Minerals Marketing Company, soon to be the head of the Gold Board, Sammy Gyamfi. In fact, that's happened already, hasn't it? Sammy Gyamfi joins us. He's also a lawyer. Sammy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sergio.
Thank you for making the time. I think before we get into the CJ's issue, because we've already discussed Tamale, I'll give you a bite at it really quickly before we get into the CJ's matter. Lots of criticism for the health minister for this altercation between him and one of the doctors at this hospital. Now there are calls for an apology. Would that be the way forward?
An apology from who to who?
From the health minister to the individual, the doctor.
Well, Sergio, first of all, I have a handicap because I was called at the last minute to join this discussion because my colleague who was supposed to be part of it, for some reasons, is unable to do that. I've not keenly followed the issue, but all I can say is that the one who has the prerogatives to hire also has the prerogatives to fire. And unless anybody can show any violation of law, in the dismissal of the third chief executive officer. I don't think that the appointing authority owes anybody an apology or an explanation for the decision to remove him. And if he feels that his rights have been infringed upon, he can seek redress in a court of competent jurisdiction. That's all I can say for now.
Right. I think there is perhaps a need to delineate two issues here. The altercation that we saw on the video was not actually with the medical director. It was with another doctor. There wasn't an altercation with the medical director on the video we saw. But the apology is being called for the altercation, which was with a different...
What are they calling altercation?
The health minister was asking this individual who was apparently trying to make a point, asking him to keep quiet.
Is that an altercation? That is a superior officer, okay, appropriately querying subordinates under his oversight, under his supervisory jurisdiction as minister, as to why something happened when it ought not to happen. That is not an altercation. That is a minister of state ensuring that people who go to health facilities for health care are treated the right way and are assured of quality services. And that for me cannot be described by any stretch of imagination as an altercation. For me, I think that the minister deserves commendation for the approach he has adopted in visiting some of these health facilities unannounced to see for himself the quality of healthcare delivery and the services that people are getting there. And when the wrong things are being done, he has every right to question those who have been entrusted with the responsibility of delivering those quality services as to why the right things are not being done. And if need be, sanction those who are culpable. And I think we should commend that.
Should he not also want to hear their explanations when he asks questions?
Yes, but the point is, if he was in the process of making a point and he wasn't done, and another was trying to cut in, he reserves the right to tell you to keep quiet for him to finish. I have not watched the said video, Kojo. So I'm just only making general comments from what you have told me happened in the said case.
Right, understood. Okay, let's get to the CJ's issue. We played the tapes. Currently, the matter is back and forth. We now know what is contained in these petitions, right? And we now know what the Chief Justice has actually offered by way of response as part of the process of establishing prima facie. Now she's been suspended. There are some who ask, what would have gone wrong if the president had not suspended her?
If the president had not suspended her, justice administration could have suffered, in the sense that the Chief Justice, who has administrative oversight over the entire judiciary, and for that matter, the administration of justice, will obviously be busy mounting a defense for herself at or before the committee which has been set up by the president to investigate this matter. And nobody can convince me that she can attach the needed attention that justice administration requires from that high office, the office of Chief Justice. I mean, when we need her to take very critical decisions, it could well be that she may be before this committee defending herself. Don't forget that what is going to take place before the committee is a quasi-judicial process. It is like a trial. And do we want our Chief Justice on a day-to-day basis, when she is supposed to be at work, supervising justice administration, spending all her time before this committee defending herself? The administration of justice is so important, and it cannot be entrusted in the hands of a person who is going through, an investigative process under Article 146. She will not have the peace of mind and cannot give adequate attention to her important role as administrative head over the judiciary. And that is why it makes sense that she be asked to step aside for another to act in her stead pending the determination of the case. That's number one. Number two, the Chief Justice herself, in all fairness to her, needs all the time she can get to prepare adequately to defend this matter. Because we all get a sense that she intends to fight this matter to its logical conclusion. And she must be given the time, okay, and the attention she needs to be able to do that. I don't think it is fair to the Chief Justice to expect her to mount, the needed defense before the committee investigating this matter, while at the same time combining that with the onerous task of Chief Justice. It wouldn't be fair. So I think she herself will be very grateful to the President for suspending her, because it gives her the opportunity to fully focus on defending the petitions against her. We are talking about 3 petitions. And in one petition, you have multiple counts, close to 20 counts. She needs all the attention and time and resources she can garner to mount the needed response. And then finally, one of the reasons why people are asked to step aside pending the outcome of the investigations is so that they do not take advantage of their positions of privilege to interfere with the investigations. Now, if you look at the petitions against the Chief Justice which have been leaked out there, there are serious allegations involved. And some of these allegations border on falsification of court documents. The allegations for now, but they are serious allegations bordering on alleged falsification of court documents. And
in particular are you referring to?
Come again?
Which particular allegation are you referring to when you say it borders
the
on
petition from Mr. Ayamga Aklobo,
right,
a lawyer who is also a senior police officer,
right,
who says that the Chief Justice, while presiding over the Supreme Court, ordered for him to be arrested and detained. And that when he applied for the certified true copy of the record of proceedings of that day, the record of proceedings had been falsified to omit that important, incident that happened that day,
right,
which then denies him of the opportunity to seek redress at any forum. And that is a very, very serious allegation he has made.
Okay.
Now, if, and I'm choosing my words carefully, if it is true that the Chief Justice was the one who directed the registrar of the court to falsify that search report, if that is true, then she cannot continue to be in office while that investigation is going on, because she clearly can't interfere with the processes. So at this stage, we don't know whether it is true or not. And that is why it is important for her not to be put in a position which gives her the opportunity to interfere with evidence while this investigation is going on. So
right,
on the basis of these 3 arguments I've made, you cannot but agree that the decision by the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State to suspend the Chief Justice, was justified or is justified.
Well, before you continue, you said acting in accordance. So that's very different from in consultation with. Acting in accordance
because
means
the relevant provision of the Constitution relative to the powers of the President to suspend the Chief Justice
uses the language acting in accordance with. Yes.
Yes, the language says not even on the advice.
Yes, that's right.
Because on the advice of has been interpreted by the Supreme Court to be permissive and not compulsory.
Right.
But
so in
here
accordance
the
with
premise
is
of the
compulsory.
Constitution said acting in accordance with advice of the Council of State.
Correct, and that is compulsory, isn't it? So
exactly.
So does this indicate?
So it says that acting in accordance with advice may suspend.
Right.
What that means is that at all times there must be an advice from the Council of State.
Good. And it also suggests that his suspension must be in accordance with that advice. Which
he
means
can
that
choose not to abide by the advice. But he cannot, in and of himself, suspend the Chief Justice without advice from the Council of State. That is what it means. If you want to suspend the Chief Justice, it must be in accordance with advice of the Council of
but
State.
does it not also mean?
But you can choose not to abide by that. But look, you are talking about a 31-member Council of State made up of some of the most respected members of our society, retired justices of our courts, chiefs, people who are apolitical, people who may be NPP, people who may be NDC. 31-member Council of State. And for my sources, 30 out of the 31 said that there is a prima facie case to be determined and that the nature of the allegations made against the Chief Justice justifies her suspension pending the outcome of the investigations.
30 of the
Nobody
31.
can tell me that all the 30 members of the Council of State are NDC fanatics who hate the Chief Justice. All of them are some dandaheads who are being remote controlled by the president. I mean, let's credit them with some intelligence. And you see, the hypocrisy that our friends in the NPP are demonstrating in this matter, are exhibiting in this matter, is very illustrating to say the least.
Yeah, please, before you continue, Sammy, who abstained? Is it 30 out of the 31? Who's that person who said there wasn't prima facie?
You should do your own checks on that. I'm not going to tell you that. But I believe that you know who that person was. I'm not going to tell you that. But
Okay.
all I want to say is that 30 out of the
Sammy, hold on.
31 said...
Is
there
that
was a prima
person Justice
facie case.
Sophia Kufu?
I can't confirm or deny. Now,
Okay.
now back to the point I was making, Wednesday. Let's call a spade and not a digging tool. And I'm surprised that the media is even entertaining some of the arguments we are hearing from the NPP. Look, if Ghana would develop and our democracy would thrive, we must all promote the rule of law. We must all commend those who uphold the rule of law. This country is governed by the rule of law and not the rule of men. The laws of this country that we have adopted for ourselves provides for, in the Supreme Law, the 1992 Constitution, at Article 146, the process for the removal or suspension of a Chief Justice. Somebody should tell me a single provision under Article 146 that the President or the Council of State has violated in this matter. The President has diligently performed his constitutional duties under Article 146 in line with due process. He was not the one who petitioned for the removal of the Chief Justice. The President is not a petitioner. No NDC person is a petitioner in this matter. The petitioners are persons who are aggrieved by the conduct of this Chief Justice. Some of them say their fundamental human rights have been infringed upon by her. Some of them say they have been unfairly treated, unfairly imprisoned by her. Some of them say that they have evidence that he has acted against the constitution of the land, the ethics of her profession, and so on. And they themselves have petitioned the President. As we speak today, they have 5 petitions seeking her removal from office. None authored by the President, an appointee of the President, or a member of his party. Now, what was the President supposed to do? Throw the petitions away? Or prevent the petitioners from submitting the petitions to his office? No. If he had done that, that would have constituted a breach of his oath of office, because the President swore on the 7th of January 2025 to remain true to the people of Ghana and to defend and uphold the Constitution. If he had done that, it would have constituted an impeachable offense under Article 69 of the Constitution.
Well, we are
so
told
he did the right thing.
We are told that the President has done that in the past.
I'm going somewhere in just 30 seconds.
He
did the right thing in accepting the petition and in consulting the Council of State on whether or not the petitions disclose a prima facie case. I am of the opinion that at that stage, he didn't even need the response of the Chief Justice. Because to determine a prima facie case simply means looking at the petition on the face of it to determine whether there is a case for the Chief Justice to answer. You don't, at that stage, require the response of the Chief Justice. But out of the abundance of caution, the President, in all fairness, wrote to the Chief Justice, forwarded the petitions to her, received her responses, forwarded the petitions and the responses to the Council of State. The Council of State, 30 out of the 31 said there was a prima facie case, and the President agreed with them. He has set up a committee to now investigate the matter. And pending the outcome, he has, by a warrant under his hand, suspended the Chief Justice for the reasons I have already articulated to you. What wrong has he done?
Okay.
He is only acting in strict accordance with the Constitution.
Okay.
And you have these same MPP people who in times past have suspended 4 justices of our Superior Court based on the same Article 146(10). Justice Derry and his colleagues were suspended in 2018 by President Akufo-Addo on the basis of that same article. And why was an NDC appointed strike boss, Loretta Lamptey, dismissed from office by President Mahama in 2013? Why was she sacked? It was because NPP members, Anodompre, Richard Nyama, whose lawyer I believe was something Labi or so, petitioned the president that the woman had used public funds to the tune of just $5,000 to renovate her AU village building. On this basis, a committee was set up to probe the matter. The president abided by the recommendations of the committee and dismissed the woman, even though it was Professor Mills who appointed the woman. The president acted on the petitions from known apparatchiks of the MPP. So this is President Mahama showing consistency, showing unwavering fidelity to the Constitution.
Okay.
When petitions came from MPP members in the past, he acted. When petitions came from other citizens in the case of this current injustice, he is acting.
Okay.
And then you have people in the MPP, some of whom are lawyers, saying that the president should not act, he should violate the Constitution.
All right, Sammy,
because Getutokono is above the law.
Yeah, Sammy, I'd like you to stay with us so we can get a reaction from Andrew Mercer, who's here with us, and to hear what he has to say so that you can respond if necessary. Andrew, you've heard Sammy's explanation. 3 reasons given for the suspension of the Chief Justice. One of them being that if she were to stay in the office, she could have an influence on the outcomes of this investigation. The other 2 being that it's for her own good, so she has time to, first of all, attend all of the hearings and also to prepare.
When all this, if you like, brouhaha started with the petitions or the notification from the Minister for Government Communication and the action that Vincent Asifua initiated at the Supreme Court, questioning the non-engagement of the CG for her side before same was referred to the Council of State, and the subsequent request by the Chief Justice and the President's response, and giving her time to then submit her responses to the petition, the lapse of that time and her delivery to the President for onward transmission to the Chief Justice, and the noise that it was generating in the media, I felt that we should be cautious, because the removal of a Chief Justice is not something that we need to necessarily play it within the political domain as we always do. Because it is at the root of our constitutional democracy, the judiciary and the Chief Justice, for that matter. Then, obviously, we heard that the president has, based on the advice of the Council of State, set up a committee to investigate the Chief Justice and also proceeded to suspend the Chief Justice. In spite of all that we knew during the campaign season between 2020, following the elections petition and the commentary that our friends in the NDC had made, I still felt that, well, let us see how the process plays out. Then I heard Sremsai, the learned Deputy Attorney General, and of course my good friend and brother, the Communications Director of the NPP, Richard Ahiaba, do some banter. Sremsai's response to Richard's assertions were, for me personally, and I know my party had issued some statement condemning the process and all that, gave me some comfort that, hey guys, he hasn't seen the petition. None of us had seen the petition at that point. And so he believes that the establishment or the setting up of a committee per se does not necessarily amount to a conviction, if you like, of the CJ. Later in the evening, I listened to Sammy Gyamfi. I can't remember the sequence with respect to Sremsai's statement and Sammy Gyamfi, but I heard Sammy Gyamfi, my good friend, on Asempa FM, where he made scathing allegations against the Chief Justice. Scathing. Accused her of taking public funds and buying tickets for herself and her spouse.
Was he not simply repeating what was in the petition?
Oh, let me, allow me. I was worried that, hey, if these allegations are true, then maybe my inclination that let's wait for the process to take its natural course may be the right approach that I had taken for myself. I listened to Sremsai, gave me some comfort, and I was prepared to give the NDC and the government the benefit of the doubt that, well, maybe they had intended, they had made utterances, they had made comments to the effect that the judiciary ought to be reset. Their chairman had made all sorts of comments about the need for the removal of the Chief Justice and the electoral commissioners and all that. Maybe, just maybe, there is some element to the petitions that require an investigation. And yes, I agree, the Chief Justice is not above the law. The Constitution is very clear in its wording as regards what has to be done when a petition is submitted to the President for the removal of the Chief Justice. Then later in the evening, I saw a write-up by the former Deputy Attorney General, Asunaba Dapa. Then I said, what is happening? Thankfully, yesterday, we all got copies of the petitions and the responses. I've read through all of them. And look, Sammy, you may be right. The president may not have breached any provisions of the Constitution. He is acting in fidelity, as you claim. But we should all be worried that if these assertions that are contained in the petitions and the responses that the Chief Justice has given raises a prima facie case to warrant an investigation, then we are in deep trouble as a country.
Why do you say so?
Because you see, what is a prima facie case? Just go online. I entreat listeners and viewers to participate and just go online. Law Dictionary. At first sight, on the first appearance, on the face of it, so far as can be judged from the first disclosure, presumably, a litigating party is said to have a prima facie case when the evidence in his favor is sufficiently strong for his opponent to be called on to answer. So essentially, if the evidence that has been adduced is not disproved, then it is deemed to be true. Right? So the CJ has been asked.
Wait, I want to be sure of the position you are taking. That prima facie means guilty until proven innocent.
So let me read. Prima facie case in law means a claim has sufficient evidence to be considered valid on its face, meaning it's true unless proven otherwise. That's what it means. So I take a step back and I say, having seen the petition and the responses that the Chief Justice has given, and now emerging assertions to the effect that one individual, there's rumor that it is actually the Honorable Justice Sophia Akufu, the former Chief Justice, who abstained. I don't know whether it's true or not. Sammy says he cannot confirm or deny it. And in law, your guess is as good as mine when a response to that effect is given. I'll plead. Let's tread cautiously. It's not MPP NDC matter. We cannot continue to be a country that practices rule by law as opposed to rule of law. Because in that case, then we only abide by the letter of the law, not the spirit. It can never be that the intendment of the framers of the Constitution was to the effect that any petition that is scrutinized should lead to a process like this merely on account of a petition. It must be something that leaves no doubt, if you like. One allegation is to the effect that the Chief Justice traveled with her spouse and daughter. She provides evidence in her response to the effect that, look, I'm appointed Chief Justice. I'm given a copy of the policy on foreign travels by heads of judiciary and Superior Court judges, which was approved in 2010, revised in 2019, that I'm entitled to travel with my spouse and one person. Electing to travel with my husband and daughter amounts to a crime. And if a third party petitioner who is not privy to the policy on foreign travels by heads of judiciary and superior courts raises an issue in a petition that raises sufficient enough evidence to warrant the setting up of a committee for the Chief Justice to go and respond.
But this is one of many.
We can go through all of them. I've highlighted all of it.
So what you're saying is that you are convinced by her responses?
Absolutely no basis for proceeding. And right. I would plead that if indeed Madame Sophia Kufu was the one who abstained. It would be good for her. I know she's very public spirited. After all, she was part of a group of people who demonstrated against the president who appointed her Chief Justice. And legitimately so. Because she felt that the process that the finance minister was taking pensioner bondholders through was improper. So I will urge her, because the path that we are taking is a really, really dangerous path.
Right.
Look,
I want
and it's important. No, one moment before you bring him in.
No.
Context is important.
Take a break. Our time is up for a break. Yes. When we come back, we will hear more. Stay with us.
Building or renovating? Look no.
It's time to study the petitions and the responses from the Chief Justice as he claims. If he had done so, he would have come to the realization that I have not made any allegations against the Chief Justice. And the assertions I made on Asempa FM was just re-echoing the allegations contained in the 3 petitions seeking her removal from office, without more. And I expressed them as allegations, save to add that I personally was convinced with some of the pieces of evidence that I had seen. So let's make that point clear. Number 2, the Chief Justice, in her response, has confessed to wrongdoing in the specific case of the petition of Daniel Ofori, which accuses her, among other things, for, applying her official travel privileges to a private, or if you like, personal travel of hers.
That's not true.
For the benefit of her husband and daughter. Read the Chief Justice's response clearly. What she is saying is that the travel policy of the Judicial Council allows her to embark on unlimited foreign travels. And on such foreign travels, she's entitled to travel with 2 people, a spouse. It could be any relative of hers or any person of her choosing, at the expense of the state. That is for official foreign travels. But she says that she opted to use that privilege for her holidays. The 2 holidays she took in 2023 were private travels. Those were not official travels. So she could not have used her official travel privileges on a private travel. That is self-incriminating evidence given by the Chief Justice herself. So I am surprised that my good brother Egyapa Mercer, who is a respected lawyer, says that this case doesn't even meet the prima facie threshold. I say that it even meets the threshold of beyond every reasonable doubt, not to talk about prima facie, because the accused has confessed to that wrongdoing. How do you take your daughter and your husband on a private trip at the expense of the state? You pay their tickets, business class tickets, from the state coffers, and pay them every day, per diem for every day that they spend with you outside the country. And you are the people in the NPP, the same people who saw to the dismissal of a former Shraj boss for spending just $5,000 on the renovation of a private residence. You don't see anything wrong with this. In this case, we are talking about close to $30,000 paid as per diem to the husband and daughter of the Chief Justice on a private foreign travel, not official. Get the difference clear. And Egyapa Mercer, if you have not seen that portion, I will send you a screenshot so that you read for yourself.
I have it
and
here.
I can also share with you the travel policy of the Judicial Council.
I have it here.
We'll come to you in a minute.
And I'll read it.
30 more seconds for Sammy.
Number 2, let's make it very clear that this matter is in the public domain because the Chief Justice wanted it to be in the public domain. Since President Mahama received the petitions and wrote to the Council of State, all the processes were in camera and in strict confidence in line with Article 1468. It was the Chief Justice who decided to make this matter a public political matter, because she thinks that it is in doing so that she can reduce the matter to the usual political football and get MPP people to defend her clear acts of wrongdoing.
Okay, all right, Sammy.
And I say so because if you don't write a letter to the president under Article 1 and copy other people, but her first letter to the president requesting for copies of the petitions against her was copied to several people.
Right.
And the next day, Vincent Esefo of the MPP, Afenyo Markin and Godfrey Dame and all these guys were holding the letter.
Okay, all right.
After the president made copies of the petition available to us,
okay,
the next day, the MPP came out with a press conference on the content of the petitions.
All right, Sammy, your time is up. Thank you. Thank you very much. Andrew, 4 minutes.
You see, indeed, I'm glad that this petition has become public, because otherwise, then the so-called statements that Sammy Gyamfi made, which suggested some incriminatory act on the part of the CJ that he now refers to as based on the petition without the benefit of the response, would have been believed by many people out there in the public domain. He made scathing allegations. The response deals with all those matters succinctly. Now he says that the Chief Justice admitted that she committed an infraction. Like, seriously? Has he read the document? Look, this is the response by the Chief Justice. It says paragraph 9A. It says what? Exhibit DO2 is the policy on foreign travels by head of the judiciary and the Superior Court judges. Paragraph A9 provides that, quote, the Chief Justice shall undertake unlimited official travels with either his or her spouse or other person of his or her choice in a year, fully funded by the Judicial Service. Paragraph 9A10 provides that, quote, where the Chief Justice is accompanied by the spouse or other person, he or she shall travel on the same class of air tickets as the Chief Justice and shall be paid the equivalent of half the per diem paid to the Chief Justice. This is policy, oh. I'm coming.
It says official, though.
You say?
It says official travel.
Yes.
According to Sammy Gyamfi, she's accused of going on a private trip.
Let me read a response.
A holiday.
This has been the policy of the Judicial Service since 2010, as amended in 2019. Exhibit DO4 is a response to audit observation provided by Judicial Secretary to auditors who saw the clarification of the expenditure on the ticket purchased for my husband and my daughter during my 2 holidays in 2023. On page 1 of Exhibit DO2, the Judicial Secretary clarified that as Chief Justice, I opted to utilize the authorization in paragraph 9 and paragraph 10 of the travel policy to travel with my spouse and my daughter during my 2 holidays taken in September 2023, pursuant to the conditions of the appointment of the Chief Justice. In view of this option, there was no infraction occasioned when I opted to travel for my 2 holidays with my spouse on 1 occasion and my daughter on the 2nd occasion. The response to observation 1 and response to observation 2 of Exhibit DO4 provide explanation on expenditure on tickets for my husband and daughter that petitioner has unfortunately described as misapplication or misappropriation of public funds by the Chief Justice.
So she is saying that she opted to use the provision for official trips for a personal trip. Does she have the
She is entitled to 2 unlimited official travels and 2 vacations. Right? That's what the policy says. It's all in there.
I didn't hear you read in the policy that she can use that privilege on personal trips. I only heard you say official travel.
So the point I'm making is that the CJ on official travels, unlimited, and 2 vacations that the judicial service also put. No, it's in the document.
Can you read the
there.
part
Yeah,
where
if you
it says
permit me.
2 vacations? You have 2 minutes. 1 minute, actually.
Yeah, sure.
Just the part where it says that it applies to vacations or personal trips. All right. So I think while Mr. Mercer is finding that, let's hear quickly from Sammy, and then Mr. Mercer will intervene when he finds it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Kojo, I can bet my last point on this, that Egyapa Mercer will not find what you told him to just look for. For the avoidance of doubt, I want to read to you the relevant portions of the travel policy of the Judicial Council. And this is paragraph B2. It says, where the Chief Justice embarks on a personal or private foreign travel, he or she shall be accompanied by the security alone. The security alone, if it is a private trip. If it is an official trip, she can go with 2 other persons of her choosing. And it can be a spouse and a child. Now, let's look at the response of the Chief Justice.
So, Sammy, go ahead.
He says, I'm reading the response and the admission. Since Egyapa Mercer is refusing to see. These are the words of the Chief Justice. I opted to utilize the authorization in paragraph 9 and paragraph 10 of the travel policy. What does paragraph 9 and paragraph 10 of the travel policy say? It is the privileges she has to travel with 2 people of her choosing on official travels. Now she says that she utilized paragraph 9 and paragraph 10 of the travel policy to travel with my spouse and my daughter during my 2 holidays taken in September 2023. Need I say more? The 2 holidays were those holidays official trips? Oh, called vacation. What has that got to do with the state office? If you are sending your husband and your daughter on a vacation for holidays, why should we pay them per diem? Why should we buy them business class tickets? And you, Egyapa Mercer, you are defending this. Take your time and read the travel policy. Take your time. If you don't have a copy, I'm forwarding a copy to you now. Check your inbox and read it.
It's 10
So
o'clock.
let's not defend the indispensable because of politics.
Mr. Mercer, have you found the relevant part you wanted to read?
So, paragraph B1 provides for 2 holidays for the Chief Justice in a year. Okay, with the judicial service, with travel expenses, hotel accommodation, and per diem to be borne by the judicial service, and capped at 14 days per round trip. So I'm saying that the Chief Justice is entitled to 2 holidays paid for by the judicial service every year.
But does it
And
say
she's
that
saying no?
she can
So I don't have the
travel
full
with her
complement of the
spouse
document. And she provides the
and another person
the policy on travel documents by heads, okay, and says that she opted to do. But you see, Koyo, does it make sense? Okay, and I say this with a little bit of caution because I have not seen the full complement of the travel policy of the judicial service. It is only the extras that have been provided in the responses that I've seen. But I ask, does it make sense that if you are going on private travel, you can go with a security alone? Security. But if you are going on official travel, you can go with your spouse and any third party of your choice.
Well, whether it makes sense or
No,
not,
so it's important.
That is what
no,
has
hold
been
on,
quoted.
hold on. But the point I'm making is that it's important. Now look for the full complement of the document for us to look at. Let's think about it.
Yeah, but
how does it even make sense that when you are going on a private travel, that the expectation would be that you would ordinarily be traveling with your family? That one, the policy says you can go with the security person alone. How does that even make sense? even without the benefit of the full document. And Kojo, you haven't seen it.
No, hold on.
Take Sammy Gyamfi's word.
Hold on.
I'm only asking you.
The policy says no. The policy says based on that the state shall cover the cost of only your security personnel if you're going on a holiday. However, if it's an official trip,
have you seen the policy?
Hold on a minute.
No,
hold on.
From it. We are going based on what has been quoted by the Chief Justice himself.
I am quoting the extracts, and I say if you look at the extracts, and where it says you are entitled to this number of persons on an official trip.
Guys.
Hold on. And you are entitled to this on a private trip.
Look, let's call it.
You can't interchange it.
Everybody sitting in this studio knows that this activity is all premeditated. It was conceived by the NDC whilst in opposition, arising out of the outcome of the elections petition of 2020. Mr. Mahama has publicly said so. The chairman of the NDC has publicly said so. The deputy secretary of the NDC has publicly said so. It is their avowed intent to remove the Chief Justice come hell or high water.
All right.
And that's exactly the path that they are pursuing. I'm saying that it is a dangerous path. We should not encourage it. Right-thinking members of society should rise and speak so that we don't put this country in a situation where the tenure of the Chief Justice becomes coterminous with the tenure of the president.
Okay.
Because if we do that, the administration of justice in this country is what will suffer. That's all.
Okay, now, first, apologies for not bringing you the 10 o'clock bulletin. There will be an 11 o'clock bulletin. I'm going to give 30 seconds to each of our guests to give their final thoughts, literally 30 seconds, and I will have to cut in at the end of that time, so we are fair to everyone. Sammy, I'll start with you.
Thank you. Egyapa Mercer just made me laugh and laugh and laugh. You were on this platform saying that the Chief Justice has mounted a defense for herself relative to the allegation in question, and that the travel policy allows her to do what she did. Now, when confronted with the facts, here you are saying that you've not even seen the travel policy. Kojo, I've sent you the travel policy. I've sent the same thing to Winston. Read what is at paragraph 9 and 10. You will see that it talks about official foreign travel. The Chief Justice herself says that she went for holidays for 2 days and opted to use her official travel privileges for a private vacation trip. Egyapa Mercer.
All right.
Is it everything you must defend?
Okay, Sammy, thank you.
But is it not strange that you can go on unlimited official travels with your spouse and child? Unlimited, 50, 100 times a year. But you can't go on a vacation on 2 occasions with these same people. How absurd. How absurd.
All right. Thank you both for your
time. It's unbelievable.
We appreciate your time very much. It's 5 minutes past 10. Thank you all for listening to the We're back tomorrow with more. Until then, please keep listening to Joy. My name is Koji Youngster, the morning man.
Winston Amwa. Have a good one.